Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, as-salatu was-salamu ala Rasulillah. Rabbi yassir wa la tu'assir wa tammim bil-khair, wa bika nasta'in ya fatah, Rabbi shrah li sadri, wa yassir li amri, wa ahlul 'uqdatan min lisani yafqahu qawli. Everything that we do in life, we try to emulate the Prophet ﷺ. And there's a narration by Salama radiallahu anha that she described how the Prophet ﷺ would recite Quran. She described how the Prophet ﷺ used to recite the Quran. And she described it as it being very distinct. Yani harfan. Every single letter that he recited was very distinct, was recited very clearly, recited very thoroughly, giving every letter its due haqq, giving every letter its due right. That's how the Prophet ﷺ would recite the Quran. So when we think that can only be done when you do not recite in a fast speed. That's the only way. It's not possible to recite, give every letter its due right and recite 100 miles per hour. No, it's not possible. It's just not. Now, for many of us, we don't even think about reciting in fast speed because we might not be that affluent, but for the huffaz and those individuals that are really well at reciting Nazira, then they think that, let me try reciting more and more and more. Then that would be better than me reciting 1 page or 2 pages or 3 pages. Let me recite 1 juz. Okay, so emphasizing the point of giving every letter its due right, and that also connects with what we talked about yesterday, giving tadabbur and tafakkur. When you recite nice and slowly, then that's going to allow you to ponder over the meaning. When you recite so fast, forget about pondering over the meaning. You're not going to even be able to understand the actual words that you're reciting, right? Just the recitation itself. That's why the Prophet that's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in Surah Muzammil, وَرَتِّلِ الْقُرْآنَ تَرْتِيلًا. وَرَتِّلِ الْقُرْآنَ تَرْتِيلًا. When you recite the Quran, recite it with tartil. Again, giving every single letter its due right. Reciting the Quran distinctly. Abdullah ibn Mughaffal, he narrated radiallahu anhu, he was saying that on the day of Fathu Makkah, he said that I saw the Prophet ﷺ, and he was on his camel and he was reciting anybody know? What's a surah called? Surah of conquering. Surah Fatih, good, mashallah. Yeah, Surah Fatih, right? Surah Fatih, so the surah of victory or conquering. And he was describing his recitation in the exact same fashion that he was reciting on that camel. His recitation was taking place when he was reciting on that camel in a very distinct tone, very clearly, that he could understand. When the Sahaba would explain certain things of the Prophet ﷺ, they would make sure that they would explain with the best amount of detail, because they knew that the individuals that would come later on, they were not seeing it visually like they were. So how would they understand exactly the situation that I am seeing visually with my eyes and hearing with my ears? Is if I explain it properly. And you look at the shama'il, if you look at all the characteristics of the Prophet ﷺ, every little detail they gave, like they even talked about how many white hairs he had on his body, right? Every little detail, how big his beard was, how long his hair used to be, every little detail, what he used to wear, how he used to walk. Every little detail was given, and that's the beauty of our deen. That every detail of the deen is written, either in the Quran or in the Sunnah. Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhuma, he stated that it is more beloved to me, and he is known as Tarjuman al-Quran. Abdullah ibn Abbas is known as the Tarjuman al-Quran, the one who has the skill at being able to give tafsir of the Quran in a very appropriate fashion. Okay, that was the name that he was given. So he said, it is more beloved to me to distinctly recite one surah than to recite the entire Quran. Let me repeat that one more time. He said that, Abdullah ibn Abbas said, that it's more beloved to me that an individual recite one surah properly, clearly, then they recite the entire Quran, meaning entire Quran very quickly and swiftly. That's, again, talking about quality over quantity, quality over quantity. That's what our deen is. Every aspect you'll see quality over quantity being mentioned. Mujahid, he said that, he was asked about two men. One of them recited Surah Al-Baqarah and Surah Al-Imran, and the other individual just recited Surah Al-Baqarah. And both of those individuals, they had the same amount of salah, yani ruku and sujood and qa'dah was exactly the same. As far as the other portions of the salah, it was exactly the same. So what was different was one individual recited Surah Al-Baqarah and Surah Al-Imran. The other individual just recited Surah Al-Baqarah. He said, the one who read Surah Al-Baqarah only, he's better. He's better. Why? He gave every ayah, every letter its due haqq. That's the point. That's the purpose here. So reciting quickly with excessive haste, that's not according to the deen. And in Arabic we call that hadth. Hadth. That's something that's disliked, and sometimes if it's going to change the meaning, then it would be completely prohibited. Because there are times when we recite very fast where we don't give every letter its due right, and we're changing the meaning, or we make a haraka mistake because we're reciting so quickly we don't even realize it. These things change the meaning. You change the meaning, it's going to affect the salah. Salah goes invalid then. Salah becomes invalid. Okay. So this is something our teacher would stress, our hifz teacher would stress to us every single time, because when you're young and you're reciting in front of hundreds of people or even a few people, be it 5 people, you get a little bit stressed out. You get a little stressed out, so you start reciting fast. So he said he would always tell us, relax, calm down when you recite, and the only way you're able to do that is when you practice it, you're reciting slow in that manner as well. You practice it slow. If you practice it fast, then obviously you're going to recite it fast up there. Right? But if you practice it slow, then inshallah you're going to be able to at least recite it slowly as well when you're leading salah or when you're reading by yourself. So he said that Abdullah ibn Mas'ud radiyallahu anhu, he said that a man told him that I read some short surahs, some short surahs in one rak'ah. I read a few short surahs in one rak'ah. So Abdullah ibn Mas'ud radiallahu anhu, he said, this is like poetry being recited rapidly. This is like poetry being recited rapidly. There are people, he said that there are people who recite the Quran and the Quran doesn't go past their throats. The Quran doesn't go past their throats. But if it descends into their hearts, then it becomes firmly set therein. Then it will provide benefit. Otherwise, if you're just reciting it for the sake of recitation, then there's not much fa'idah there. There's not much fa'idah there. But when you're reciting it slowly, when you're doing tadabbur, when you're doing tafakkur, and not only is it just being recited from your throat, but it's also having an impact here. And that's the main thing. That's the whole purpose of the Quran, لِيَدَّبَّرُوا آيَاتِ, so that it has an impact on our heart. Right? Otherwise, it's like you reading any other book. No? So the scholars, they recommend reciting the Quran slowly for the sake of understanding. For the sake of understanding. And for those of us that may not understand, an ajami who does not know any Arabic, then you might not be understanding the meaning. But when you recite it slowly, you're giving Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's alfaz, His words, its due haqq, its due right, with respect and honor. And that is going to have an impact on your heart. And we know that for a fact. We know that for a fact. How many times have you seen videos after videos where the Quran is being recited in front of non-Muslims and it has an impact on their heart? Because this is a kalam of Allah. I mean, there's no ifs and buts about it. I'm going to end with one last story. There was I believe it was Qari ibn al-Basit. You guys all heard of Qari ibn al-Basit, right? Qari ibn al-Basit, right? Very famous Qari. So he was once asked to recite the Quran at a function. And there was a bunch of army, generals there. So he closed his eyes and began to recite. non-Muslims in front of him. Closed his eyes, began to recite. Reciting. Finished his recitation. And he looked at their face. There was tears really rolling down from their eyes. Tears rolling down from their eyes. How? They're not even Muslim. Not even Muslim. But that's what the Quran can do when it's recited properly. When it's recited properly, oh Allah, the amount of impact that can have, the amount of barakah it can bring to your house, the amount of sakina it can bring to your heart, it is no comparison. And you witness it in the month of Ramadan. You witness it. It is nobody. You don't need to ask anybody. You don't need to see it from anybody else. You witness it within your own home, and you witness it within your own heart. That what the Quran does for you in the month of Ramadan. Because there are many of us don't spend as much time as we do with the Quran as much as we do in Ramadan. Is comparison to outside Ramadan. We see the impact that it has. We don't need any statistics to show that. It's there. It's there. So we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to allow us to recite the Quran in a very distinct fashion. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept our recitation. Wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen.